Kanetkar. Please give him a round of applause. Without taking any time, I request Rohan sir to please stand.
थोड़ा हम आगे जाओ लगेगा मेरे से हम लोग पीछे जाओ। एकदा घुमवून दे सगळे पीसी मी त्यांच्याकडे फोकस करायला पाहिजे।
Hello. Yeah. So hopefully I'm audible clearly at the back. And so like ma'am mentioned, I'm into industrial automation and I've been working in LabVIEW since more than 10 years now. LabVIEW is a very complex and highly adaptable
एकदाच चाललं
environment.
पाहिजे ना परत।
So how many of you have used LabVIEW before or no LabVIEW? Okay, only a few hands have come up. So we'll have to start with
Just
the basics
घुमवायची
today
असंच आहे
and,
ना?
for the next 2-3 days we will cover up some basics before we dive into its application into 5G or LTE related communication or RF communication.
हळूहळू
First, let's understand what is LabVIEW, what the environment actually is capable of, so that we will be able to better grasp the concept of 5G and LTE using LabVIEW. Okay.
आता त्याच्यात focus.
So to begin with, we need to understand what exactly is an automation
लाईट बंद
system.
करायची का?
LabVIEW is typically used for automation purposes. So what exactly is an automation
लाईट बंद
system?
करावं
Any system that needs to be operated automatically or any apparatus that we wish to operate on its own is an automation system. There can be various types of automation systems, and LabVIEW is extensively used for automation purposes, for simulation and even in R&D sectors. It's replacing PLCs. You must have heard of programmable logic circuits. So in many areas, LabVIEW is replacing PLCs as an alternative, which is much more capable and scalable for future purposes also. So the reason I'm covering this automation system, I'm sure you all must be knowing what an automation system is. But there are many misconceptions about where exactly LabVIEW comes into the picture. Some people think that it runs on the microcontroller, some people think it runs on the hardware, or some people think it runs somewhere else. So I just want to clear those misconceptions before we dive into LabVIEW. So if you look at a basic system, the physical system or the environment that we live in, we capture the data from that environment through sensors. It can be temperature sensor, physically taking temperature into the sensor and then transmitting it to an electrical signal. Other type of sensor would be pressure sensor, flow sensor, and there are many types of other sensors as you all know. So from that physical system, once the signal is converted into electrical signal, it is given to an hardware through some maybe signal conditioning if it is required. Signal conditioning is done and then it is fed to an hardware through ADC, analog or digital based IOs. The hardware that communicates with a microcontroller, processor or a computer. Okay. This is where your actual code runs. This is where you actually code your logic. So now once you get the data in the computer or the processor, now it has to take some sort of an action depending upon your requirement of the code that you have done. So that is done through control elements. So control elements can be different types of actuators, maybe relays, maybe motors, or a number of things that we can use as an actuator. It can also be in a simple form, such as displaying data on a graph or storing it somewhere in the memory. It is also type of an output. So this is the basic automation system. So now where does LabVIEW come into picture? So your LabVIEW code basically is stored on a computer or a processor. And you need a hardware that is LabVIEW compatible. By that I mean there are drivers on the hardware that can communicate with the code that is running on your computer. Tomorrow if you tell me I am going to interface maybe an 8051 or some type of processor directly download the LabVIEW code, that is not possible. You need to have a LabVIEW compatible hardware or a controller to download your code in it. But typically it runs on your computer, Windows-based computer, and then it communicates with the hardware through some sort of a bus. It can be as simple as a USB bus, it can be Ethernet, Modbus, CAN bus, PXI bus, PCIe bus, many other bus. You have a question? In some cases, if the hardware is capable of having the LabVIEW code run on it, then only you can download it. Otherwise, typically it's just the hardware, it does not have any code as such running on it. The code runs on your computer. In the next few days, I am going to bring a simple USB-based hardware, after which you have a better understanding of how it communicates with the physical world and the computer. Okay. So yeah. So let's start exploring a LabVIEW a little bit. So basically LabVIEW is Laboratory Virtual Instrument Engineering Workbench. That is the full form. LabVIEW is an acronym and that is the full form. It's a product of National Instruments, which is a US-based company. Okay, LabVIEW programs are called virtual instruments and their extension is .vi. Just like if you write a code in C, its extension is .c, or for Python it's .py. LabVIEW has an extension of vi, and their operation or appearance is somewhat similar to an instrument. That is why they are called as virtual instruments. But at the same time, they are analogous to our programming codes. What we do in labs usually, they are analogous to that as well. By that, what I mean, you will understand in the next few slides. So where exactly, what areas is LabVIEW typically used? It is very, very popularly used in signal processing and image processing. They have built-in tools, so you don't need to code as such extensively. So it is very popularly used in image processing. Embedded systems such as FPGA microcontrollers can be used. There are LabVIEW drivers available even for Arduino. You can write your code in LabVIEW and then deploy it on an Arduino. But there are very few microcontrollers that you can deploy the code on. Mostly there are readily available hardware in the market that you can just plug into your PC and then it starts running. Again, one of the main areas of LabVIEW using is simulation and prototyping. Since it is a simulated environment, many say for example, right now we are considering 5G and LTE technologies. Many of the lab simulations are done in LabVIEW because it is that powerful. This is where LabVIEW comes in for simulation and prototyping purposes. Unless and until these huge corporations, they are sure of the hardware or whatever stacks they have developed are going to work, then only they develop the hardware. Until then, they try to simulate it somehow or the other. LabVIEW is one of the development environment. It's not the only one, there are many available, but LabVIEW is one of them. Again, for control and dynamic systems, mechatronics and robotics is another very important field in which LabVIEW is used extensively. You will, in the next few days, you will understand why it is used extensively, because it is really that easy to use. Then again, in data acquisition, measurement and instrumentation, say if you have a lab and if you want to perform an experiment and gather some data, it is very easily doable using LabVIEW even with the basic programming skills. You can gather that data, you can do analysis, different types of analysis on it, you can store it into different formats also. So it is also very commonly used, you'll see in many labs also these days, LabVIEW being used. Okay, so LabVIEW is very adaptable, like I said earlier also, and it comes with a graphical user interface. You don't have to create an interface separately. It has, as and when you start programming, you can create an user interface also. This is a very highly advantageous thing for industries. Then it compiles whatever code you do, just like any other programming language, it compiles it into machine language. It is also used in a variety of industries such as robotics, automotive, agriculture, aerospace, even in nuclear power plants. Many of them use LabVIEW to gather data from their systems. Telecom is also one of the applications, like I said, to simulate some environments. LabVIEW is very popular in these areas. So then, what is the basic difference between LabVIEW and other text-based languages? If you can see on the left-hand side, it is a typical text-based language code that you usually see, and this is a LabVIEW code. Okay, so LabVIEW is a graphical programming-based language. You don't actually have to text anything, write anything. You just have to drag and drop, and your code is ready. So this is the first and foremost difference between other languages or other development environments and LabVIEW. Another thing to remember always is that in text-based language, you know that the code runs from top to bottom. The first line you enter is going to be executed first, and then it goes on down. But in LabVIEW, the code executes from left to right. Please always remember that this is a very important aspect of LabVIEW. The code is going to run from left to right. Okay, it is very easy and powerful. Like I said, it's a graphical programming. In C, if you write different loops, you have to initialize a few variables and then write for loop, open brackets, and whatever you do. This is a typical looping example in C, how it looks like. But if I want to create a for loop in LabVIEW, I just have to drag and drop this for loop, and my for loop is ready. I don't have to initialize anything. I don't have to do any include any headers or any files like that. So in those terms, LabVIEW is very, very user friendly as well. Another important thing about LabVIEW is parallel execution of 2 or more loops is possible. In text-based language, typically parallel execution, if you want to execute 2 or more parallel loops together, then it becomes very, very difficult, or it's not that easy to do it. You have to do many, many things, and even then it's not guaranteed. But in LabVIEW, it is by default. If you have 2-3 loops, one below the another, all are going to be executed simultaneously. LabVIEW has the capability of sharing the resources with the microprocessor so that parallel executions happen easily and by default. This is one of the main things to remember about LabVIEW. Another thing is that you don't need to compile your code. It compiles automatically. As and when we are going to do some hands-on, I will try to bring that to your notice, or you can notice it on your own also. You don't need to compile it. It just compiles it on its own and gives output. So, any questions so far? If you have any questions, you can just raise your hand and ask me anytime. So before we go into hands-on, I would like to tell you a few basics about LabVIEW. Whenever you open LabVIEW, 2 windows are going to open. One is the block diagram and one is the front panel. Another thing to know is the nodes and wires. I will come to that in the next couple of slides. So this is the front panel, typical front panel of LabVIEW program. This is what the user sees. User is going to interact with this front panel. This is the graphical user interface. And this is what a typical code or the block diagram looks like. This is your code. This is not visible to the user once you deploy it on some machine. User cannot see this. This is for your purpose only. So what does front panel have then? The front panel is used to accept some sort of an input from the user or give some sort of an output to the user. Okay. So either the controls which accept the inputs, it can be switches, it can be knobs, or indicators are something that gives an information or output to the user in the form of graphs, or maybe even write to an Excel file or some LED or something. So those are the forms of output that give feedback to the user. So all these things that are going to interact with the user are going to be on your front panel. That is also called as the GUI. Right now I request you all to open your lab views. I am also going to open side by side, and we are going to observe a few things. It's better if I show you directly in lab view rather than a presentation. We will be able to understand fast. Okay. So I'm going to open my lab view as well here. What? Evaluation version is freely available online, but if you want a professional version, then it is free. Sorry? It's evaluation version. I think it's for 15 days or 1 month or something. Okay, so my version is 2021. I guess you have 22 or 23, but the UI is something similar. Once LabVIEW opens, just go to File and create new VI. Don't create a new project. Just create a new VI. And these two windows should pop up in front of you. Any problems so far? Is everybody able to do this? Just go to new and then VI. Okay, you will see two windows opening up in front of you. The first one is front panel, like you can see over here, front panel, and the other one is block diagram. Now I want you to maximize this front panel window. When you are on the front panel, just right click anywhere on the front panel and something this sort of should open in front of you. This is called as controls palette. Whatever you need to place on the front panel or the GUI is going to be available in this controls palette. Is everybody with me so far? Great. Now go to numeric. You will see a number of options popping up. Just go to the first one that says numeric control. Click on it and just place it anywhere on the front panel. Something like this should happen in front of you as well. Then again right click anywhere on the front panel. Again go to numeric. You will see numeric indicator as well right next to numeric control. Select that and place it on the front panel as well. Is everyone able to do this? Great. So if you remember, this is the numeric indicator that we first placed here. If you see, you have increment and decrement arrows over here. So those indicate that it is able to accept input from the user. So if you want the user to input something, you know that this is a control. It can accept input. But for an indicator, you don't see anything over here. And also it is a bit grayed. So it means that it is an indicator. This is how you can distinguish between a control and an indicator. Simple enough so far? So we just saw this controls palette. Whatever you need to place, you can find it over here. If you again right click over here, you can see there is a horizontal slider over here. I can place it easily. I can say if I want a knob, I can place it over. If I want to change the size of this, I can just easily change the size of this as well. If I want a graph, just go to graph and place a waveform chart. So now even my graph is ready. I did not have to code anything, absolutely anything. I just had to drag and drop all these things. So in terms of creating a GUI, this is very helpful. You don't need to code anything as such. Okay, now we'll see the properties. Say for example, this is my numeric input. I want to change its name. I want to be able to identify it much better. The user needs to identify it much better. So wherever you see here numeric, just double click on it, and I want to name it to say input A. And just like that, it's done. So now this will be identified as input A. If I right click on it and go to properties, I will see a bunch of properties opening. Okay, here I will be able to change a bunch of properties. Say for example, you can see if you want it enabled, if you want it disabled, disabled and grayed. If I want to change the size or position, then again, let's say suppose I want the user to enter values between specific range, say between 0 to 100 only. By default, the limits are from infinity. So if I remove this, and here in the minimum, let's say I want the minimum to be 0 and maximum to be 100. So now here you can see another property, response to the values outside limit. If you open that, you will see course or ignore. I am going to select course. Same for the maximum value. And then press OK. So now anything faster. Okay. Right click. Are you on the properties? Go to the third one that says data entry. Is everyone there? And by default, the use default limits will be selected. You remove that selection, and you will see the minimum and maximum values that can be edited now. You put in any minimum and any maximum value, numeric value that you want. Right now I am using 100.
Can we set the granularity of the data? So if I want to place 5 at a distance at a period of 5.
Yes. If you see the third one, the third option says increment count. So by default it's 0. I mean if you it takes the least count. But if you define it whatever you want, it will jump with that number of counts. Yeah, please go ahead. No, this is linear. This is linear. No. Is everyone able to change the limits? Hello? Yeah. So now select course from the response to value outside limits for both minimum and maximum values, and then press OK. So now whatever value beyond outside the range of 0 to 100 should get converted to that range. Let's check. Okay, say right now if I am entering minus 50, and if I run this code, it got changed to 0. If I give input as 200 and then run the code, it got converted to 100. So that whatever input the user gives, you want it to be within the limits, you can use this. So I did not have to code anything as such, I just went to the properties and just changed it. Somewhat similar to the windows that you do for folder properties or any other properties, file properties. It's similar to that. It's easy that way. Was everyone able to do that? Right now. स्केलिंग नाही होते तो तेवढी मॅक्सिमम व्हॅल्यू वरती एंटर नाही करू 0 to 100 सिलेक्ट केलं युजरने दोनशे टाकलं तरी तो 100च घेणार कारण आपली मॅक्सिमम कुठली ग्राफ ती तुम्हाला याच्यात इट्स ओके आपल्याला त्याच्यावरती क्लिक करा आणि डिलीट. Okay, so I hope everyone was able to change the limit successfully. Great. Yes. So next comes the toolbar. Okay. Here you can see on the top side of the window block diagram. The first one comes as run. So this is when you want to run your code. Just press run. This runs the code only once. If you want your code to run continuously, you can use the run continuously button. Next comes the abort execution. So if you want to stop your code, you can use the stop button over here. This is the pause button if you want to pause your code. And let's say if I want to change, if I want to change the size or font of this, I just have to double click and something similar to what you do in Word, MS Word. It is similar like that. I can change the size of this and then the size changes. So I don't need to code anything as such. It's similar to using a Windows computer. Next comes the alignment options like left align or center align or something.
Can you repeat all the things one second?
Okay, the toolbar. Right. So first comes the run toolbar. So when you press on this run button, your code is going to run. It will only run once. If you want to run it continuously, you can use the second option, that is run continuously. The third button is the stop button. If you want the code to stop executing, you can use stop. Then comes pause. If you want to pause the code, if you want to change the font, size, font and everything like that, then you can use this drop down menu similar to we have in Word. And then these are the alignment options. Left align, center align for GUI purposes. So this is fairly easy to understand and remember as well. Okay, now let's move our attention to the block diagram. So block diagram is where your actual code is going to be. Whatever you are going to program is going to be in the block diagram. Front panel is only for GUI purposes. There isn't coding as such on that. Okay, so whatever you place on the front panel is going to appear on the block diagram. We can check that right now. You must have created a bunch of elements on the front panel like this, like I have created. And if you go to window over here in the top and then go to show block diagram. Another block diagram window will open in front of you. You will see all the elements already placed on the block diagram. Is everyone able to see?
Yes.
A shortcut for this is if you want to swap between the two windows, Control E. So if I press Control E, it will take me to the front panel. If I press Control E, it will take me to the block diagram. So it's easier to navigate between two windows. So here now I can see all the elements that I have put on the front panel appear in the block diagram for my programming purposes. So here, whatever controls are placed on the front panel will have an output or the arrow on the right hand side. You will see a small black arrow on the right hand side of those. Are you able to see for input A? Yes. So it tells me that something is going to come out of this when I run the code. Because it has accepted input from the user, that input is going to be sent into my logic for next operations. So here the input is going to come out of this. For indicator, numeric 2 was an indicator for us. You'll see that there is a option for input over here. So whatever data I give to this is going to be displayed on it. So let's just rename it over here. From numeric 2, I am going to say output. And then press anywhere else on the block diagram. So now this indicates me that this is an output. you will see the name changed on the front panel as well. Are you following so far? Control C or go to window. Show block diagram. Okay. So whatever you place on the front panel will show up here on the block diagram. So change the name over here. Now, and see that name change to the front panel. And use Control E. Okay, so now we are able to identify which one are the controls and which one are the indicator on the block diagram now. Now here, if I right click again, similar to the block diagram, if you right click, a functions palette is going to open. Here all the things necessary for your programming will be available. All the logical decision making things or whatever you need to program are going to be available because we are going to place them on the block diagram. So here you can see various options. We are going to explore these options later on. If you want to search a particular thing and you don't know where it is, especially at the beginning, you don't know where exactly what is available. You just press on search and now say if I want to have a for loop in my code, I will write for loop. It immediately showed me the first option as for loop. If I double click on it, it will take me to the for loop immediately. So this is another way of searching things in the block diagram as well. Right now you don't need to place any loop. We are going to cover that later on. Okay, so now we have placed data in the front panel as well as the block diagram is also okay for us now. Now I am going to delete these unwanted things right now. Say for example, I don't need the graph. I am going to delete the graph. I am going to delete the norm. And whatever I need is now remaining in the block diagram as well as in the front panel. So if I go to the block diagram again, now I want to pass the data from one place to another. Just like in electrical circuits, you use wires. Here also wires are available. If you hover your mouse on the right hand side of the input A, you will see the cursor change into a wiring spool. Right? So just when the cursor is changed, click on it and just drag it to the output. Now input A is connected to the output. So when you run this code, whatever is there in the input A is directly going to be passed to the output. Let's run it on the front panel. My input A right now is 100. If I run this code, the output now shows me 100. This is a very basic part of programming, so please make sure that you are able to wire these two nodes right now. कुठे इश्यू येतोय? do one thing. तीसरा ऑप्शन है हेडर ला. Okay, just a sec. On the header, there is a option called as view. Here, select tools palette. A small window should open over here like this. And if this is not enabled, please enable it. So that the cursor automatically changes when you move your cursor to this input A. If this is disabled, it will not change. I will have to change it manually. So please enable this, and then you will see cursor change. Move your cursor to the right, this black small arrow on input A. You will see the cursor change, and then just click on it. View tools palette. You see a tools palette open over here. You just have to enable this. This green LED should be glowing. And then move your cursor to this right arrow, black arrow, and you will see your cursor change to a small wiring spool. Just click on it and then just drag it to this, and these two should get connected. Okay, is everybody able to do this? On the front panel, yes, you will see output on the front panel. Okay, I am going to run my program once again. If I enter 50 now, notice that output still shows 100, but when I run it, it gets changes to 50. Okay. आहे ना केले तुम्ही बरोबर केले वाईट असंच करायचं नाही तर कोड आहे ना तसं ब्लॉक इथे नाही दिसणार. Okay, so this was simple enough. Let's proceed. So we just covered wiring objects. So here, if I try to wire two controls, it should give me an error because both the controls are supposed to give some output. Neither can accept an input. Here another slide करके एक control है, which also has an output. If I try to connect the output of input A to slide, it will show me a broken wire because slide cannot accept an input. It has to give an output. So in this case, it shows me a broken wire. That means something is wrong. It is not going to run. So here I can press Ctrl B to delete all the broken wires, or simply use Ctrl Z. Just like in Word we use Ctrl Z to undo whatever we just did, you can use it over here. So please remember, if the control has an output, you cannot wire as something as an input to it. Some output has to come out of it. So we are going to do a simple addition program. Please follow me and I will try to go as slow as possible. If you have LabVIEW open, press Ctrl T so that both the windows get aligned in front of you and you are able to see both the actions happening simultaneously. So as you can see, the block diagram is on the right hand side and front panel is on the left hand side. So now we want to perform addition. Addition requires two inputs. Right now we only have input A. So again go ahead and place another numeric control over here and name it input B. By input I mean the user is going to understand something has to be inputted, hence I am using input name. So now I have two inputs. Now I need to add them. I am going to delete this wire now. And on the block diagram, right click, the functions palette opens up, go to numeric or just simply go to search and search add. You will see the first option, add. Double click on it, it will take you over to the add function. You just have to select, drag and drop it on the block diagram. So now my addition node is available over here. I will place it wherever convenient for me. Are you all able to put the add in the block diagram? ब्लॉक डायग्राम मध्ये तुम्ही केलं तर न्यूमेरिक राइट क्लिक करा, go to numeric, yeah, so you'll see add. Or if you can't find, like I said, use search button. Drag and drop, drag and drop. Okay, is everyone able to do that? Okay, so everybody is with me so far? So now I need to pass the data from input A and B to the addition node. So just like we wired previously to the output, right now I am not going to directly wire it to the output, but to this addition node. You will see addition will have two inputs to accept. One is X and one is Y. One on the top side and one on the bottom side as input. So this node, whatever it is going to accept is on the left hand side. And then whatever output is going to come is on the right hand side. So now output here is going to be this plus this. Now I'm going to wire it to output. So whatever is in input A and B is going to go into this addition node. This node is going to perform the addition of those two numbers and give that output. And since we have connected it to the output, it will show us on the indicator. I will try to run this code now. I have input A as 50 and let's say I enter input B as 25. And I run the code, the output has gone to 75, which is correct. Is everybody able to do this? कोणाला जमलं नाहीये? वरचा ऑटोलच ठेवा, स्वतः कर्सर तुम्ही निघाले तो चेक केला. नाव वायर आपण वरच्या नेक्स्ट Everybody done with this? Okay, so I guess everybody is able to perform basic addition. हाँ? नहीं उसका नहीं. अच्छा, so what we have learned is that controls give some sort of an output, indicators accept some sort of an input, wires are used to transfer data from one place to another, and nodes perform some sort of an action by accepting inputs and giving some sort of an output. So nodes have both input and outputs. So our basic addition program is ready. You can delete this slider if you want and then go to File and Save As, and then save it as a simple addition program anywhere you want. You can create a simple folder on the desktop also and then save all your programs in it, so that you can have reference later on also if you want. So please go ahead and save your programs for now. Okay, so I assume now everybody has saved their programs. Another helpful tip that I am going to give you, anywhere on the block diagram, press Ctrl H. Ctrl H. H for hat. Ctrl H. You will see a small window called as Context Help opening up. So wherever I move my cursor, it is going to show me information about that tree. It is very, very helpful while developing a code, especially if you are new to LabVIEW. It will show you all the details about that node, what it does, what type of input it accepts, what output it gives, what are the necessary precautions you need to take while doing that. So for example, if I hover this over add, it will show me that X and Y, it accepts two inputs, it computes the sum of the inputs and gives the output. So now we know this is addition because it was fairly basic. But for complicated nodes, this is going to be very helpful. It has many inputs, say 6 or 8 inputs and maybe 3 or 4 different types of outputs. Those nodes are also available in LabVIEW. So in order to understand that quickly, context help is of great help. It reduces a lot of time while coding. So whenever you find some, you need more information, use context help. So, like similar in programming languages like C and Python, there are different data types in LabVIEW also. The first one is the floating point number. And if you go on the block diagram, you will see that every wire right now you connected was orange in color. So this denotes that it was a floating point number. And since the line was thin, because there was only one value coming out of it right now. Had it been an array, it would have been a bold line. And if it was a 2D array, there are two parallel lines. Similarly, if it was an integer number, it would have been blue in color. For Boolean, by Boolean I mean it has only true or false state. No other state, only true or false. In that case, it will be green in color. And if you want a string, it will be pink in color. I will show you right now using a string. Now I go to my front panel and right click over here. You will see string and path option, the third option. First one is the string control. I will place it over here. I will name it as name, suppose. So here you see it has appeared on the block diagram. Now I want a string indicator as well. I will follow the same procedure. And I will rename it to output. So here you see both of them on the block diagram appearing to be pink in color. This tells me that it accepts string format input or alphanumeric input. Now, if I wire this to the output, and let's say if I enter my name over here, I should be able to see it in the output as well. Now I'm going to run my code. You will see my name appear in the output because it got passed on to the output through the wire. The wire here now is in pink color. Is everybody able to do this? Okay, on the front panel, go to the third option, string. Here you will see string control and indicator placed one by one on the front panel. You cannot place two things together, you have to place individually. Everybody able to find string control and indicator? Solid है थोड़ा वायर से So now let's focus our attention to the toolbar on the block diagram. Here, similar to the front panel, the first 3-4 buttons are pretty much similar or same. First one is the run, continuous run, abort, and pause execution. These 4 are same from the front panel. Then comes highlight execution. If I want to see my code, how it is running, if I want to debug my code, this is the most useful tool. Okay, I am going to show you a demo right now. Okay, if you see this bulb over here on your this code, you just click on it, it will glow. And then if I press run now, it will show me how my code is being executed. Run the code and you will see how my code is running. Is everybody able to do this? So this is a very helpful tool for you to understand how your code is working, how the data flow is happening within your code.